Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show before the free show. Boom.
Hello. Been sitting here for hours waiting for you to turn the cameras on.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into the pre-show before the free show, and welcome in to your Ashley Pickle birthday weekend post-game show. We appreciate you coming in. I know you've all been sitting at home wondering how Pickle's birthday went. And so let's get reaction. Instant reaction, I would say.
Instant.
Our hot takes. Pickle, take it away.
I was fantastic. I
Yeah.
had a wonderful birthday. Yeah, we went out to Chicken and Pickle in Grand Prairie, I guess.
As you do.
As you do. If you're not familiar with what Chicken and Pickle is, it's a whole little conglomerate of pickleball courts and like a bunch of other activities. And the chicken comes from they sell a lot of food that has chicken in it. But y'all came.
We did.
The whole Tepper clan came. It was fantastic. Hank gave me a Paw Patrol card.
He did.
And he crushed writing my name on the front of it.
He did.
I think Hank was the star of the show.
You'll notice with Hank and his writing, knows all the letters.
Mm-hmm.
I did have to write your name on a sticky note for him to just like to know how to
Spell it. Yeah, that's fair.
But you'll notice that where we struggle, two things. One, anything with a curve is tough.
Okay.
P was difficult.
It looked good. The P looked good.
S was difficult.
S is the one that it was a little backwards, but it made it cute.
My wife teaches reading.
Mm-hmm.
And she says that like S is one of the last ones that like you get.
That makes sense.
You just have to know, just a matter of knowing the direction and stuff like that. But the other issue is that he's not a great judge of space. And he's also like things tend to
go
on a bit
up.
of a
I was
curve,
just gonna say we had Ashley Pickle. The E at the end was really big because he felt like he needed to fill in more space.
No,
but it's well done. It was also in green, which makes sense.
No.
The Paw Patrol card ruled.
He asked me what your favorite color was, and I said green.
That's fair.
Okay, great. I took a shot in North Texas.
Yeah, green's good. I would say green's probably number 2. Yellow.
Had you ever played pickleball?
I had not.
But you did get to play pickleball.
I did get to play pickleball. Yeah, and so both my brother and I, we used to play tennis. Like
I got to see Jake 2 days in a row. It was great.
Yeah, super tall.
That is.
That's just what I take from seeing my brother.
That is a descriptor of your brother. Yeah.
Cool. Every time I see him, I'm just shocked at how tall he is. Because I mean, I was there when he was not that tall, so it's still weird. I just feel like he keeps getting taller. Maybe I'm shrinking. That's probably more likely.
You're getting old.
But we played tennis, and so we're like, oh yeah, I bet this is like an easier version of tennis. You know, shorter court, less movement. That all is correct. But you have to hit the hell out of that pickleball.
Yeah.
Like, you have to really, like, rev it up and get going. It is not near as bouncy as I thought that it would have been.
I think you take it for granted that, like, tennis, the ball is bouncy.
But then also the racket.
And the racket is
netted.
There's a lot of tension.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's meant to bounce off that.
For you.
Yeah.
I mean, tennis is hard. Yeah, I'm not saying it's
right.
hard.
Tennis, you have to have more, like, great, like, that's where you have to have skill. I feel like you don't have to have as much skill to play pickleball. You just have to be ready to, like, hit the crap out of the pickleball.
As I was watching Mallory play.
She was good.
That's when I realized, because Mallory, I think of Mallory as pretty athletic.
Yes.
She's pretty athletic. And that's when it struck me. I was like, all right, the thing about pickleball. And I'd never played. I didn't get to play. I was chasing kids.
Correct.
I know that older people like pickleball. That is, it's the new hotness in the older.
That's why I thought maybe it would be easier because it's such a less, like, it's compact space, so you don't have to move much.
It does strike me that, because I was thinking, I was like, wow, I wonder if Mallory's going to be really good at this because she's athletic. And then it struck me, I was like, I would imagine being athletic is not a prerequisite. Like, being super athletic is not a prerequisite. I'm sure it helps because being athletic helps in most
anything.
Endeavors.
Yeah.
But, yeah. The other thing, that was a cool place. I'd never been.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It's owned by a Mizzou grad. I know this because that's where, like, Mizzou watch parties, like the Alumni Association invites us to.
Yeah, that rules.
So we may have to make our way down there. It's a great place, a huge space.
It's massive.
And they've got giant Jenga, which Hank was into, just stacking
Yeah.
things up.
They
and
had
filling
life-size
set.
Battleship, which was really
Life-size
cool.
Battleship.
Tons
They
of
had big Connect
cornhole,
4,
shuffleboard,
cornhole, shuffleboard, exactly. Very cool.
pickle
Very cool.
pong,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
which was
Big- very
life-size,
cool.
like beer pong, I guess, kind of.
Beer pong?
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Mm.
Here is my one concern.
Okay.
My one concern. And I told this to my wife on the way out. That place is awesome.
Yes.
It obviously, and it also, and they were printing money on Saturday because it's a beautiful day. You
Oh,
know,
it's gorgeous.
It's a big outdoor space, I should say. It's 90% outdoor.
Yeah.
It does look like there was a lot of investment costs to get that thing on the ground because there's just a lot of stuff there, and it's all very nice. What if pickleball becomes 30% less hot?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
See, yes, I
don't know.
agree.
Because
There's
I do, because right now people are into pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
What if people are 30% less into pickleball?
I think the thing that they did well that was like the smart business move is, yes, we're going to primarily build these pickleball courts, but we're going to put investment into everything else between the shuffleboard, the all that, and I mean,
But what's it
the
called?
full service, chicken and pickle, correct?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was awesome, and that whole area down there in Grand Prairie is
It's booming.
what do they call it? Like the Epic Waters or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that big old area where it's like a giant
Indoor water park.
indoor water park. They got all sorts of stuff.
There was like restaurants all along like a boardwalk over there.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad you had a good birthday.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out Chicken and Pickle. If you're in the area, you should go.
It was fun. Anyway, hit the theme expo. Pickle. Hit the arrow sign. Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a show on the internet that's a year older. My name's Greg Tupper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine, texasfootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching us live, texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all the places, or listen to us in the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good. She's a Dutch to the Dorks. She's now in her late 20s.
Ugh.
She's Ashley Pickle.
Stinky.
Yeah.
Hi, friends.
We are now only 10 years apart right now.
This is true. Solely a decade until June.
So I'm going to really relish these.
That's how I feel with Mallory because her birthday's in December. So it's basically the same gap between Mallory and I that between you and I. But we're like 1 year. We were 1 year apart right then. And I was like, yeah.
My older brother is, his birthday's 10 days before mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was always like 10 days in the summer when he was 3 years older than I was.
Yep.
And I always, growing up, I was like, sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. My brother and I are 13 days apart. So it was for 13 days, we were 5 years apart instead of 6.
Right. So anyway, happy birthday. That's all I'm going to say to you.
That's fair.
Today is Monday, March 27th, 2023, 240 days till Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to Quentin Tarantino, episode 1560. On today's show, folks, got headlines from across the state, including a weird press conference in College Station that our own Mike Craven was at, plus some big coaching changes across the Texas high school football world. We'll talk about that. And then back half of the show, we're going to be joined by the head coach of one of the big surprises in Texas high school football last year, the Wolves of Canyon West Plains, a first-year varsity program who just hauled off and made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, why not?
Playoff game, just all sorts of good
Mess
stuff.
around and find out.
Yeah. And so we'll talk with our head coach, Adam Cummings, coming here back half the show. Going to go up there and chat a little bit with the boys up there, the Wolves. They're like a I want to say I pulled their logo.
It's like a really pretty teal-looking wolf logo.
Yeah.
It rocks.
Pretty cool. So we will hear from Coach Adam Cummings coming here at the back half of the show. Do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was Nick Morton, Daniel Agnew, Ed McElroy, and T. Solis 979.
Perfect.
Welcome in, fellas. And lady fellas.
I was going to say.
And robots.
I was going to say.
That's Tanner Solis. I know that one.
Don't make assumptions here. We don't know.
That's an OG.
T could be Tamara.
This is true.
We don't know.
Lady Solis.
All right, Pickle. Let's get into some headlines from across the state of Texas. And we're going to start in College Station.
Because why not?
Dateline College Station.
Dateline.
Our friend Mike Craven, senior college football writer for Dave Campbell's Texas Football, is down College Station beginning a spring practice. Spring practice started last week. And Craven was there, the opening press conference. Watched a bit of practice. He mentioned he was tweeting about how he's always struck. He's like he always forgets how big A&M is, and they're just huge in the trenches because they've just done such an unbelievable job recruiting in the trenches. They're just massive up there. But that's not the on-field stuff was not what really caught everybody's eye.
It was fairly normal for a first day of spring practice.
It was the press conference before spring ball really got going. Because Jimbo Fisher went up there and kind of gave his opening press conference.
State of the Aggies address.
As you do. Yeah, kind of the State of the Aggies address. Yeah, as you do. Right? It's pretty standard fare for pretty much every coach. And so, of course, the big headline this offseason was that Jimbo Fisher fired they parted ways with Daryl Dickey, and they brought in a new offensive coordinator in Bobby Petrino. So, and I think we've had long conversations on this show about why that was necessary, why that's a good move, why they needed to bring a new voice in the room to, at the very least, take some of the responsibilities off of Jimbo Fisher from a play-calling perspective. And, of course, Jimbo Fisher still knows a lot about offense. He's going to help design the offense, but let someone else handle a lot of the nitty-gritty of the offense, right? We all thought, whatever you think of Bobby Petrino, certainly bringing in another guy who is known for his offensive acumen was a good idea to help move this offense forward, which was pretty poor last year, right? So imagine our surprise when there was a number of just kind of mixed messages in the press conference. He was asked, I don't even know who asked it. I know it wasn't Mike. He was asked point blank, hey, who is going to call the plays?
Seems like a pretty reasonable question.
You have a new offensive coordinator. Who is going to call the plays? Because Daryl Dickey was the offensive coordinator.
But he didn't actually call the calls.
Plays. Jimbo Fisher called the plays. That's why you see him with the big
sheet.
Denny's menu.
Yeah.
That's
pretty good. That's pretty accurate.
That's the new thing for all these football coaches.
Yeah.
You have the big play sheet. He had the big play sheet.
Looks like the Waffle House.
You can picture him. He's got glasses on his nose. And play sheet, right? So he's asked point blank, hey, who's going to call plays?
Which is usually something you have figured out by now. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, we'll go through that as we go. Pause. Plan on Petrino, I think him, calling plays. I have no problem with that. End quote. I mean, we'll go through that as we go. Now, at the end, he did say, plan on, I presume he said, we plan on Bobby Petrino calling plays. What are we doing? What are we doing? That to me, and this is, certainly, it's March. There's not a lot to talk about.
Right.
So we're going to take whatever little thing we have and we're going to blow
it out of
into
proportion.
This big thing, right? I fully recognize that that's what we're doing. All right? I understand that that's what's happening. With that said, that strikes me as a guy who doesn't understand why it was necessary to bring in an offensive coordinator. The whole point was the offense is really struggling. The consensus is you need to give up play calling and focus on the big picture, go to the more CEO levels type stuff, be involved, obviously, in the offense, and say, hey, we need to run the ball here, or hey, we need to throw the ball here. But as far as the play calling is concerned, give that over to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously I love Daryl Dickey. Go Mean Green. Like I have respect for Daryl Dickey, but ultimately what he was in that A&M offense was just the dummy to stand there during the games and fill up the offensive coordinator position. So it's like, why would you fire someone from that position to just hire another person in that position?
Again, I fully recognize that because it's March 27th and we're just desperate for things to talk about, little things are going to seem like huge things. And in the grand scheme of things, I don't think this is that big of a deal. I want to be clear. I don't think this is that big of a deal. But that is an early red flag for how the offense is going to operate, because I know one of the concerns with hiring a guy like Bobby Petrino is that Bobby Petrino's got a pretty big ego himself. Jimbo Fisher has a pretty big ego himself. If they're both fighting over the same territory, you can certainly see how that could turn sideways.
And that response alone makes me feel like the two of them have not sat down and had a conversation. Like that's the most troubling thing is maybe like, okay, maybe you just don't want to tell the world yet, but that one in that setting sounds to me like I have not sat down and had that conversation with him yet.
I'm going to be honest. Can I just tell you what I would do? I would lie.
Yeah.
I would go in there and say, we hired Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino's going to be in charge of the offense. He's going to call a plays. Now, maybe you're going to rip them away from him after 2 games. That's fine. But on March 20th, in the opening spring press conference,
say you have something figured out.
Just say, hey, you know what? Yeah, Bobby Petrino's going to play. Going to call. None of this.
Spin it in to make you.
As we go.
Yeah, you can spin that to make you sound like a better head coach. Like, oh, we're real excited. Did y'all hear who we brought in as offensive coordinator? Right. We're excited about our offense.
I'm still going to be involved in the offense, but he's going to call the plays. It's as simple as that. But
sell them and it makes your whole program look better.
And I don't know. It caught me off guard. It was certainly a response.
It was wait, what?
Exactly. Okay. Moving on. Staying on the college football ranks. There is some news down at Texas State. Of course, they have a new head coach in G.J. Kinney. They have hired a former coach there at Texas State, as David Bailiff is going to rejoin the program as special assistant to the head coach under G.J. Kinney. Of course, David Bailiff most recently was the head coach at A&M Commerce. Before that, he was the head coach at Rice. He's a guy that we know very well. He's a guy that we're awfully fond of. But he is, but of course, he may be probably down there. He is known as the head coach at Texas State for 3 seasons, 2004, 2006, as well as he led them to. He was a member of the Lone Star Conference Championship team back in 1980. So David Bailiff is going to be the assistant, the special assistant to the head coach there under G.J. Kinney. So cool for Coach to go home there. Into the high school ranks we go. Into the high school ranks, some pretty big after spring break. There wasn't a ton of movement across spring break because it was spring break. But at the high school football ranks, we now have some pretty major moves, one of which came down last Monday as Rockwall Heath made a hire. You may remember Rockwall Heath was hired after the whole, let's call it rigmarole. Is that good?
That seems fair.
With John Harrell. They had an opening, and that opening has been filled by a gentleman who is pretty familiar with Rockwall ISD himself, Rodney Webb. Rodney Webb most recently was the athletic director at Highland Park. Before that,
he
was
year.
the head coach at Denton Geyer. Before that,
2 years.
he was the longtime head coach at Rockwall High School. So he is coming out of the, let's call it the booth, right, or coming off of the out of the administration and back onto the sidelines. There, he's 160-78, where he was their head coach at Rockwall from 2013 to 2019. Took over at Denton Geyer, where he went 25-5 in 2 seasons, led him to a state championship game. Then he took the athletic director position at Highland Park, which was
just for this past year
by Johnny Ringo. He was there for 2021. After the 2021 season, so he was there for all of 2022 up until this most recent in March 20th. Rodney Webb's a great coach. I think that goes without saying. You look at his record speaks for himself. He knows Rockwall. I think this is a really savvy move by Rockwall ISD to bring in a guy who
is familiar.
This is a very tumultuous time in Rockwall ISD, and I think bringing in a guy that pretty much everybody can get behind,
trust,
and trust, and everybody knows, I think is really smart.
Yeah, his resume speaks for himself over there.
Now, I haven't spoken with Rodney Webb. I want to be clear. Pickle, may I speculate wildly?
Yes.
So, you remember when he left Denton Geyer to become the athletic director at Highland Park? There were two things that we thought. One was that was pretty much a retirement gig. This was, you go there, you're the head coach or you're the athletic director at Highland Park, and then you build up your TRS, your pension for however long you want, and then whenever you want to retire, you retire. It's a cushy gig.
Oh, yeah.
It's a tough job, I want to be clear. It's not you roll out of bed, but like being the athletic director at Highland Park is a good job.
Oh, yeah, and it's a one school. Like, especially if you want to talk about a school with a lot of pristine and it's just one school. That helps from an athletic director standpoint.
Absolutely. There were some people who wondered if he was taking the athletic director job to either make the next hire at Highland Park, because, of course, Randy Allen has been there forever. He was the second winningest coach in Texas high school football history.
He has technically retired before.
He has retired before. You don't know how long he wants to coach, or be the next head coach
of Highland Park
at Highland Park himself.
That was my guess. Was, hey, I'll do this, then I'll be the head coach. That was my assumption.
And that's fine.
I was wrong.
I disagree, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I wonder, and I haven't talked with Rodney Webb. I wonder if he somehow got a signal that Coach Allen was not planning on retiring.
Yes, that was my assumption when I saw this.
And he goes, opportunity to go home. Coach Allen said he's going to coach for X more years, so I would have to wait that long to either make a hire or be the hire. Anyway, that's what that was my thought was, I think, to me, this signals to me that Randy Allen
is coming back for at least another year.
Going to be around for a bit.
Yep.
Going to be around.
I agree.
Anyway, Rodney Webb, the next head coach at Rockwall Heath. Let's blow through a few more of these coaching changes. A bit of a surprise out there in the Panhandle. Stratford is now open. The Elks, of course, who went to a state championship game and won the state title back in 2021, are looking for a head coach. As Matt Lovern, the head coach of the Stratford Elks, has resigned to take over as the offensive coordinator at Canyon, which is interesting. He's leaving a 2A Division II team to go be the offensive coordinator at a 4A team in Canyon. Lance Launard, our friend up there in the Amarillo area, was the first to report this. He's been very successful, 89-22 over his tenure there. And you know, he said he talked with Matt Stepp about this. He said that it was, for his family, it wasn't a quick decision because they left Stratford, but it was an opportunity to go back to his alma mater there and coach under Coach Todd Winfrey. Okay, that's certainly that is interesting, right? More speculating wildly, Pickle.
Okay.
More speculating wildly. Because going from a head coach to offensive coordinator, even though you're moving up a couple of classifications, is a little interesting, right? Especially at a good job like Stratford.
Oh, yeah.
Speculating wildly.
We like to do that.
I wonder... Now Todd Winfrey's not all that old, but I wonder if he is going to be like Coach in waiting.
Yeah.
That's wild speculation.
It's reading the tea leaves. But yeah, it's just, that is such a, and maybe it's a family thing, who knows, but that's such a kind of move of going, oh, why?
Right.
That I feel like there's some underlying thing there, and that would make sense.
It's a little interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's an opportunity to go home.
Yeah.
Opportunity to go home, and you never know with family stuff and stuff like that. So anyway, Matt Lovern, the next office coordinator at Canyon, that is going to open up a good job there at Stratford.
I was going to say, that's the next part of this, is that Stratford is a very appealing job to a lot of people.
At Division II level. Speaking of attractive jobs, one of them came off the market but opened up another one. We're going to do this one first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss one? Oh, yep, I did.
Well, yeah, we'll get to Kyle Coates in a moment.
Okay.
Colleyville Heritage has made a hire. You may remember Kirk Martin left Colleyville Heritage to go back to Manville. They have made a hire. They have hired Killeen Harker Heights head coach Jerry Edwards. Jerry Edwards, the next head coach. He, of course, was very successful there at Harker Heights for the past couple of years. He's a guy who he took over a program that was really middle of the road and turned them into one of the best programs in Central Texas. Most notably, this past year, going to the regional final where before they fell to Duncanville. Rashawn Sanford, of course, was the star there. But Jerry Edwards is going to be the next head coach there at Colleyville Heritage. He's a long-standing coach here. I believe he's been there for 10 seasons. And, you never know. Maybe he just wants to change his scenery, things like that. But whatever the case is, he's the new head coach there at Killeen Harker Heights. And I'll tell you, Matt Stepp and I were talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
They swing big there in Grapevine, Colleyville ISD.
Oh, yeah.
They swing big. This is another big fish that they've reeled in there as Colleyville Heritage head coach, or next head coach at Colleyville Heritage, Jerry Edwards, head coach at Killeen Harker Heights. Down in the Houston area, the Woodlands College Park has made a hire, and they have brought in a state champion coordinator as their next head coach. DeSoto's co-defensive coordinator Kyle Coates is going to be the next head coach at the Woodlands College Park. Lonnie Madison left to go take over in February to go take over at Bridgeland. That opened up College Park. They have hired Kyle Coates. Kyle Coates is a Georgetown guy. He played collegiately at Trinity, but he has been the defensive coordinator along with Aaron Babino there at DeSoto, of course, bringing them to a state championship last year. And, he is a guy who has bounced around. He was a defensive analyst for under defensive coordinator Todd Orlando at Texas. He spent 3 years there. He was on the staff at Round Rock Westwood under Anthony Wood, et cetera, et cetera. He was there for 1 year under Claude Mathis, and he had a lot of great things to say about Coach Mathis and the DeSoto staff as he takes his first head coaching job there as Kyle Coates, the next head coach at the Woodlands College Park. Down in the Rio Grande Valley, Monty Stumbaugh has stepped down as the head coach at Hidalgo. He's a 44-year coaching veteran. He's been at Hidalgo for the last 6 seasons. But you look at the record, it's not pretty. It's 22-34. Mm-hmm. But the first 2 years, he was 2-18.
So yeah,
you can do the math there. He was
pretty good.
Yeah, he's turned it around in a big way.
And a very well-respected coach down there too.
He talked with Matt Stepp. Coach Stump talked with Matt Stepp. And I think he indicated to him that he wants to coach a couple more years. He doesn't want to retire. He wants to. He's probably best known for what he did at Port Isabel, where he led them to a couple of regional finals. But Monty Stumbaugh has stepped down there as the head coach at Hidalgo. Colmesneal is looking for a head coach because Cody Day has left to take over at Price Carlisle. Price Carlisle, of course, came open when Clay Baker left to go take over at Henderson. They have poached Cody Day from Colmesneal. He led to the Bulldogs to the playoffs last year. He's 18-21 for the last 4 seasons there at Colmesneal. Finally, down in the Austin area, Austin Del Valle.
Yes, correct.
Austin
Del Valle is down.
Has filled their vacancy. Of course, that was Bobby Acosta was the coach there at Austin Del Valle. Mm-hmm. He left to go be the offensive coordinator at Arkansas Pine Bluff at the collegiate level. They have promoted their defensive coordinator and associate head coach Todd Patman to be their next head coach there. It was his first 2022 was his first season at Del Valle. He was the defensive coordinator and head coach at Bastrop for 13 years down there in the Austin area. Before that, he was at Cedar Park Vista Ridge. He was at Austin Northeast.
So he knows the Austin area quite well.
For sure. He was also on the staff at DeSoto for a few seasons as well back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So the next head coach at Austin Del Valle is Todd Patman. You can find all the news on TexasFootball.com. We're Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. Hope you'll consider becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Now, let's pay some bills.
Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful, long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW.
The 83rd KitchenAid Senior PGA Championship, the most historic and prestigious event in senior golf, kicks off an unprecedented run of major championships coming to PGA Frisco over the next 11 years. From May 24th to May 28th, join us as the best golfers over the age of 50 compete to have their name etched on the Alfred S. Bourne Trophy. Past senior PGA champions have included true legends of the game like Sarazen, Snead, Palmer, Nicklaus, Player, and Watson. A limited number of hospitality, pro-am, and ticket opportunities remain available for you to be a part of the first major championship at PGA Frisco. And keep in mind, corporate clients and ticket purchasers at this May's KitchenAid Senior PGA Championship will receive priority access to offerings at future major championships held at PGA Frisco, including the 2025 KPMG Women's PGA Championship and the 2027 PGA Championship. Visit srpga.com for more information. Pickle, let's go to the hotline. And let's welcome in the head coach of the Canyon West Plains Wolves. We're pleased to be joined by Coach Adam Cummings. Coach, how are you?
Appreciate y'all having me on.
Absolutely. How are things out there in Canyon, Texas?
It's a little windy this week, but that's pretty status quo for the Panhandle. So yeah. It's been really good. We've had a good off season. Things have been rocking and rolling pretty steady.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I would imagine that a day when it's not windy would be a bigger news item than
You're probably right. Yesterday was beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys were, in my opinion, one of the real surprises in Texas high school football last year. First-year varsity program, you roar out to a 7-5 mark, win a darn playoff game, everything. It was a surprise to me. Was it a surprise to you that you guys were so successful in year one?
No, I mean, it really wasn't. I mean, that was part of our goal all along. You know, we met as a group, last spring. And when we first got together and we talked about goals and talked about expectations, and our kids from the get-go, they wanted to be successful year one. They didn't want to wait. Everybody was talking about year two, year three. And our kids wanted to be successful right out of the cage, and they did that. And so for us, it really wasn't as much about being a surprise as it was just reaching that expectation.
It wasn't all, it wasn't all sunshine and daffodils at the beginning with an 0-3 start, although admittedly, Bushland, Midland, Greenwood, and Canyon, not exactly pushovers. But was there a moment last season where you kind of saw it all come together and you said, all right, the plan is working and this machine is coming online? Was there a moment last year that strikes you?
I think you started to see a little bit of it in that Paladuro game. Paladuro is a great team, well coached. Eric Nims does a phenomenal job, and we knew that was going to be a tough game, and at their place, hostile environment, and our kids, just kept fighting. We didn't play a clean game. It was sloppy at times, but we found a way to get it done. And I think through the course of that game, you just saw the resiliency of our kids. They just kept coming back and just kept fighting. And then really that next week against Estacada, I think was the first time we really put our best foot forward and really fired on all cylinders, all three sides of the ball, and executed at a high level. And we're able to get after Estacada. And I think that was kind of the turning point of our season.
I know that you were on the staff there at Canyon High for a while, before you got your first job there at head coaching job at Hale Center. So I imagine going back to Canyon was appealing to you. At the same time, though, it's hard not to look at what you had going at Sundown and think, God, it's hard to walk away from that, especially into a new job like that. What was it about the job there at West Plains that made that the decision for you?
Being a part of Canyon ISD for 10 years and this area is special to us. This is where my wife and I met when I was a coach at Canyon. She was a student at WT. It's where our kids were born, both in Amarillo. And so this is just a special place to our family. And so it was like coming home in a lot of ways. And then just being a part of Canyon ISD and the history of excellence and the standard that they set as a school district, was something that we definitely wanted to be a part of, not just as a coaching family, but also with our kids and the academic side of it. And that was one of the great things about Sundown. I mean, we really have nothing bad to say about Sundown. Sundown was such a blessing to our family, and watched our kids just grow and blossom in that school system as well. And so, it was really more about just coming home than it was anything.
I imagine you're pretty excited about your 2023 bunch as well. One of the good things about starting a program is you get a lot of your guys back in year two, and one of them was a stinking freshman at the quarterback spot, and Reed Macon, a guy who threw for more than 2,200 yards, ran for another 300 plus yards. As a freshman, was offensive newcomer of the year. Every accolade you can give him. What can you tell us about this young man who certainly seems like a rising star up there in Randall County?
Yeah, he's a special breed. He's just a really good kid, really good leader. Mom and dad have done a good job raising him. He's got great character. He steps into a room and he just kind of commands the room, not because he's trying. That's just his personality. But very humble, very hardworking, just the type of kid you want at your quarterback position. He's going to be the first one to show up. He's going to be the last one to leave. And he's going to put in the time. He watches more film than anybody on our team. He goes to camps. He does all the little things, all the extra things, and it's because he's passionate about it. Nobody has to ask him. Nobody has to encourage him to do it. That's just who he is. And so what he did as a freshman was pretty special. But I'm really excited about the next 3 years with this young man.
On the defensive side, it looks to me that, kind of watching your season as it unfolded, it sure looked like a young program kind of finding its way and then something suddenly clicking and it really starting to work. Is it fair to say that you're pretty excited about what your defense may be able to do in year two there with the Wolves?
Absolutely. Coach Sutterfield, our defense coordinator, I've known him for a long time. He's got a reputation for building great defenses. Everywhere he's been an integral part of what they've done defensively. And it's no different here. And the staff that we've been able to bring in to surround him, I think is top notch. And so I'm really excited about that side of it. But then when you look at the returning kids we've got, we're going to be able to compete at every position. There's not like a guy that's just, man, that's our dude. That he's penciled in starter, no questions asked. I mean, we're going to have competition at every single position. Because we've got everybody back essentially. And I think anytime you have competition in practice and competition in games as well, I think it bodes well for your team in terms of developing depth, but also developing the quality of that starter. And so we're really excited about what we can do on defense.
And finally, Coach, I want to ask you a little bit about your district. Up there at District 248 Division 2. You guys ended up finishing second in that district. Your lone district loss was on the road to a good Seminoles squad by a hair, by 10 points. As far as goal setting is concerned, we hear all the time from coaches that priority one is win the district. That's goal number one is win the district.
Right.
What would that mean for you guys? It's still such a young, burgeoning program. What would it mean for you guys to get over the hump and bring home a district championship?
I think it'd be great for our community, our kids, our school, to be able to do that. We've had other programs. Our girls soccer team, won a district title not very long ago. And, it was just really neat to be a part of and watch that whole process unfold, and watch them bring that trophy home. And, pretty cool, and that would be equally as special, with our football program. To come as close as we were this last year, like you said, being at Seminole and lose by 10 at their place. And, it'd be fun, but at the end of the day, it's not our end goal. It is one of our goals, but it's not our end goal. And so, but to be able to check that off the list would sure be fun.
He's Adam Cummings. He's the head coach of the West Plains Wolves out there in Canyon. Coach, we sure appreciate your time. Congratulations again on an outstanding first season, and can't wait to see what you guys do in year 2.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, and appreciate all y'all do for Texas high school football.
Absolutely. There he goes, Adam Cummings, head coach of the West Plains Wolves. Join us here, Texas football today. And yeah, I mean, like it's just really hard to win in a first year, especially.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, you're rolling out there with a freshman quarterback. I mean, they bring back, I think 9 starters on each side of the ball,
which is great this year.
Absolutely,
but going into last year, we were like, oof.
Right, exactly. Like, this is a team that they had 6 seniors last year. 6. Like, they bring back 32 lettermen from last year's team. And that's what, like, it's, maybe I do. Everybody's football game, every football game is somebody's first. I think it's easy to see how and why early first-year programs struggle, right? Because you're relying on underclassmen. You have to build a culture from scratch. You have to set expectations, stuff like that. This is not to take anything away. In fact, this is I think a great compliment to him. But you go to Katy, right? And Gary Joseph is one of the best coaches that's ever lived. And one of the reasons is that he has continued the culture there at Katy, that this is what we do.
Yep.
This is how we do it, and this is the expectation. Whenever you start from scratch, that's incredibly difficult to build. And to go 7-5 in your first season, and especially to go 7-2 in your final 9 games.
Well, and I think that
really impressive.
The other thing that's like so underratedly hard to build, not only from an on-field perspective, but from an off-field perspective, is you don't have the fan bases. Like, you don't have the traditions. You don't have all of that really, I know that doesn't play a 90% role in all of this stuff, but it plays a good
nothing, man.
30%, of having that established culture and having a fan base and all of that stuff. So it's very impressive.
It is not nothing. Anyway, we appreciate Coach Adam Cummings from West Plains High School in Canyon hopping on with us. Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment, Final Thoughts.
I wanted to give a shout out for something that I don't know if people are necessarily aware of. I know that we've told everybody about the Republic of Football Network, our podcast, our college football podcast series, and you can find all of the extra podcasts that are not Republic of Football on the Republic of Football feed, but also a special edition to one of the new shows, Eyes on Texas, with Mike Craven and who is it down there? Oh goodness, I should know that. Eyes on Texas is also doing a video podcast, so those are available on our YouTube page if you want to go watch them. The studio that they use is really, really cool. So obviously all of the audio on the actual Republic of Football feed on Spotify and Apple Podcast and all of that. But if you want visual to go along with it, we do have those up on our YouTube page.
Yeah. And we've got a bunch of podcasts forward. We've got Gambling Gauchos from Texas Tech. We've got The Green Room from North Texas.
Cool.
We've got Between Two Bears, which is our answer to the question, which is an excellent Baylor podcast. They had Ryan Nanny, Celebrity Hot Tub, on their podcast most recently.
Let's go.
Go listen to that. The Roost, my boys at The Roost are with us.
Hoot.
I love those guys. They're great. If you've never seen what The Roost is doing over there, they are they are the most comprehensive race coverage you can get. They are awesome. They're a good follow on Twitter, too. Anyway, go check out the Republic of Football feed, where I think we've got 8 of the 13 FBS programs, and more to come.
6 and 7, soon to be more.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Thanks again to Adam Cummings of West Plains High School in Canyon for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please meet your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow for Map Tuesday and a very special pre-show on Texas Football Today.